in 5 minutes. So this is your time to go get your snacks, go to the bathroom. Heck, I don't know, whatever else you need to do in 5 minutes, but we will commence on the hour. Thank you. In 5 minutes. So this is your time to go get your snacks, go to the bathroom. Security and Intelligence come to order. We are here today to consider the nomination of Mr. Aquatic for Secretary of Homeland Security. Secretary, Jesus, can't speak. Mr. Aquatic, for the record, this hearing will focus on your qualifications, your readiness, and then and your capacity to carry out the duties of the Homeland Security Agency. Department of Homeland Security. Oh, correct. My apologies. Let me invite you. All right, Mr. Aquatic, can you confirm Hypergrox in his capacity here today?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And Mr. Hypergrox, just a thing for you.
Yes, sir.
Before we commence. Hold on. All right. I'd like to advise you that you can only advise your clients. You cannot speak on behalf of your client. And the only time that you are allowed to speak is for specific objections, which I may or may not entertain. And should Aquatic have to leave, and he's unable to communicate that to me for some reason, then you shall inform the committee,
Understood.
and then we can reschedule from there.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Aquatic, I'm going to have you placed under oath. Please raise your right hand. All right. And do you swear that the testimony that you will be giving before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. All right. I guess we can start if any of the committee members want to start with their questioning. Okay, Senator Cav, you are recognized and can begin your questioning.
Yes, I can. Specifically inside Department of Homeland Security, I have been the Secret Service Assistant Director twice. I've also been the Undersecretary of National Operations, as well as I worked in SOT for a long time. Um, are you referring to just changes or just overall standards? I think some of the biggest priorities for me is going to be ensuring activity, especially over the winter season. I think transparency is going to be another one of my big policies. And I think the third would have to be just making sure everybody is having fun in their agencies. I think that having fun is a very important part of this community because without it, there's no activity. Thank you. I think one of the ideas that I've had is.
I'm sorry, but could unethical in the gallery please take a seat and refrain from moving again, or you're going to have to be removed. Thank you.
Sorry. I believe that one of the ideas that I had coming into this was just doing a weekly, if not bi-weekly at least, just kind of press releases, just kind of going over some specific but not classified or confidential details of the operational capacity of the Department of Homeland Security and its agencies, as well as just making sure I'm being involved with the community, because I think that's a big part of transparency. I believe there's a little room for improvement with the coordination of other agencies and departments. However, one of the things that I wanted to do while I was Undersecretary of National Operations and Deputy Secretary is kind of, I guess, improve the usage of the joint LE server. I want to make it kind of a bigger thing, kind of put more policies to it. I have some just more kind of basic ideas, just to kind of make it more involved, I guess, in all the departments, just to actually serve as a joint law enforcement instead of just a server that we use for national security events, or national special security events. Sorry. I believe that this committee should place trust in my leadership, mainly because of my experience with the department, as well as some of my leadership experience in other places, as well as just my involvement with the community. I believe all three of those things just really show the committee what kind of person I am, and that they can trust me in a position like this.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Mr. Aquatic. The floor is now open for any other remarks.
I guess that's my turn to ask my questions then.
All right. Mr. President, for P2I, you have the floor.
Thank you. To the best of your ability, how would you describe the duties and responsibilities of your current role?
Current role, I believe the responsibilities is just to ensure the people that I put in the positions of department directors for my agencies, just ensuring that they're doing their job effectively, kind of mainly an oversight role, stepping in when I need to, making sure I'm not super involved, as well as just making sure that everything's just being run right. People aren't causing drama with other departments, things like that.
To the extent you can comment, and from what you've seen, how well do you think the current directors are doing in their current positions, and are you planning any critical changes?
I believe that all of my directors are doing an amazing job at their role, minus slight decrease in activity, but I believe that is due to just exam season and a little bit of work. But I've talked with all of them, and I believe that they can improve their activity once again, just get it back to the standard. I believe that especially my SS director, McTrickley, has done an amazing job as director. She was there even before she was director. She was making changes where they needed to be, stepping in at leadership, things of that. And I think she's got an amazing director to back her as well. For my SOT commander, I believe he's doing a great job. He's stepped up lately. He's started enforcing things, making SRT actually behave on DC. So I believe we could see less of incidents on DC from SRT, which I think is mostly because of him. I think my LHT directors just need a little push, because their agency is one that's kind of hard to maintain. But other than that, I think they do what they can.
I see. How would you describe your leadership style?
Um, I believe my leadership style is a more involved approach. I plan to decrease my involvement a little bit as I move into this role. But I believe just because of how much free time I have, I'm very involved. Just with keeping up with my departments. I like to make sure that my department is being run the way I want it to be ran. I want the actions of my agencies to reflect what department I want this to be ran as, and not what each individual agency wants their agency to be. Um, I believe that uh, I can see several sides of things. I'm very what's the word I'm looking for? I guess understanding. I can see a lot of sides of people. So um, yeah, I think those are just the big two things about my leadership style.
I see. My colleague has touched on communication earlier. You have been very publicly critical of the administration, mainly the vice president, regarding the inactivity. How are you going to ensure that you can effectively communicate with the executive whilst being openly critical about them in your current position?
Um, I I'm not aware of any critiques I've made towards the administration in general, other than the Andy Zappelli comments I made the other night. Um, but I mean, I believe that my communication is not going to be an issue with um with the executive branch, purely because putting I said those words as a private citizen. I don't plan to let those get in the way of my doing my job. I plan to put just doing my duties first over my personal beliefs, and also mainly that the people I'm communicating with are. I also hope that they can see both sides of that, and so I can. I believe that if we both, the people I'm communicating with and myself, both are able to just do our jobs effectively, then we will have no issue communicating. That
I see. How's your relationship with other protective agency directors as well as the White House Military Office?
I believe my relationship, specifically for protective agencies, is very good. I work in one as well. I was offered a exception for the marshals to be employed there, and so I work with Ace pretty well. As well as the DSS director Angela. I've worked with her in the past, and I believe we've talked a bit even before I was in a HLS leadership position. I believe we get along pretty well, as well as just the deputy director as well. I believe for DSS, I believe we work pretty well together. I've had conversations with him. I've resolved issues with him a couple times. Um, for WOMO, I've worked in the military before, so I am familiar with some of their leadership at the moment. But as of late, I have not been extremely involved with their specific leadership. I've been involved with WOMO, but I believe that I can improve communication with them. Sorry to keep that long.
No, that's very good. To the extent that you can make some information public or some initiatives public, how are you planning to ensure that the upcoming State of the Union is safe, considering the DC increase in activity due to the rise of gangs once more, as well as what people currently labeled as, quote, clanning?
Um, I believe one of the big things is just making sure SRT and SS have a major presence, especially on the SRT side. I believe just having SRT in general is just an amazing. It has proven to do amazing in the past, especially during the Korean conflict, when we had, I'd say, 14 North Korean soldiers go and attack our State of the Union, and SRT held all of them off with that incident. I believe that's a testament as to why SOT's presence is very helpful. And so I plan to make sure they're involved and uh, fill in as much as they can. Other than that, I have been our our Undersecretary of National Operations resigned recently due to issues with activity and struggling to find time for it. And so myself and as well as other individuals on the DHS leadership team have taken more involvement with it, especially myself. I believe to keep it kind of brief, I believe that my experience with attacking them as well has shown me really um, just what to focus on with security. I believe it's one of my specialties, what just defending events and whatnot. I think I can prepare my agencies well for it. I know the styles of clanners. Um, I know that they're kind of a rush, not very coordinated unit. So as long as we can meet it with that, I think we can defend it pretty well. I'm hoping MPD can keep their activity as well. I believe that they've shown a lot of activity lately, and so I think if we have some good MPD presence as well, they can help us out. That was kind of long, but essentially just my experience with event security and presence of SOT is going to be really big.
And for my final question for the present moment, to the extent that you can disclose, what would you consider to be the biggest flaw within your department?
Um, I believe one of the biggest flaws is I believe it's CBP and having to maintain it, as well as our some of our agencies just involvement with the community. I know that our agencies are pretty active. However, I don't see a lot of just talking with the people in the community from our agencies, and so I think that could be improved upon. It's not something I can enforce. I'm not going to go like make a chat requirement, for my agencies, but it's going to be something I'm going to ask for of them. Um, and I think having one of the biggest issues is having to maintain CBP. It's something I'm looking at doing, but it's not something that's going to be my focus just because of how the agency is set up. It's not one that you can really do much to fix. Several secretaries have tried in the past, going as far back as Will 404 when he was secretary, and it just has not worked. And so I think it's one of the biggest flaws is trying to maintain that and it not working. So yeah.
I know that was going to be my last question. I will squeeze one more in. It might have kill me. Um, Former Secretary Owen has hosted some recruitment events by the end of the tenure. Would you say those were successful, and would you consider doing them once more within your tenure? I know they were successful for the military. Would it be successful for the Department of Homeland Security?
Um, I believe recruitment is a tough spot for DHS regarding events for recruitment, just because our agencies have to be doing their jobs at events like that as well. And so it kind of makes it hard for us to focus on, showing people what they can be doing and talking with the community, all that, as well as just event attendance. It's newer people. Generally, I see a lack of attendance from them, and so um, I don't. The main people that are attending events that I see are mainly just older members of the community that have either already been in DHS or don't plan to. Um, I do plan to work on recruitment. I'm gonna have my agency directors be sending more recruitment shouts and all that. But specifically recruitment events is not going to be a big priority for me. However, I do plan to host frequent events in DHS.
Have you considered using external games like recruitment plazas for your recruitment? Because that's what the military did, and it did bring in, I believe, 10 people, they claimed.
Um, it's something that I haven't thought a lot about because I've haven't really used that game much in the past, and I did not know it still existed, honestly. Um, I can consider that for maybe SRT and CBP, because I think CBP could use some members. See if anybody's interested. I think if we could get some good members, that'd be pretty nice for its activity. But other than that, um, I could look more into that, but it's not something I'd previously thought about now. Answer the question.
Okay.
Answer the question.
I have exhausted my questions. I yield my time back to the chairman.
Thank you, Ranking Member. At this time, I'm going to yield the chair to Ranking Member PTYSU, so I'm able to fulfill my questions of the committee. Nope, I'm not even on. Okay. Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rankin, Senator,
I move for the floor.
you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, Mr. Aquatic, I'd like to say thank you for coming out to this hearing tonight. I know it might not have been your first choice, but it's always good to see congressional hearings happening for a good reason and not necessarily a bad reason. My first question is, what does DHS exist to do in OSF? In your own words.
In my own words, DHS exists to be the main law enforcement and security lead, I guess, on DC. Just because we have the two most, I guess, premier or elite agencies being Secret Service as our protective and SRT as our law enforcement. I believe both of those agencies represent some of the primary in their field. I believe that DHS serves as the primary communication lead for large events, specifically NSCs, but also other events. We coordinate a lot of the security, and we do a lot of the security for several big events. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Aquatic. I know we've already kind of touched on your plans for DHS, but those seemed pretty short term. Long term, what do you want the department to look like, say, maybe a month, 2 months into your tenure as secretary?
I want the department to look as best as it can. I know that in about maybe about 2 months, activity is going to start falling down just because winter's going to be ending. People are starting to get back into school and all that. So I just want it to look as good as it can. I'm not super focused on having it be still elite after regarding activity after winter break is over. I just want it to. I don't want it to have drama. That is my big concern. Having drama surrounding the department and the department, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that. I guess piggybacking off of that, historically, what do you think has held the Department of Homeland Security back? And what would you do differently to kind of change that narrative or, improve on those things that have held the department back?
I think that's. Is there anything specific that you think we're being held back on, like activity or just operational?
No, but the question is, what do you think has held DHS back in the past, minus activity, because obviously we've already touched on activity, pointless or not pointless, numerous times. Or is that the only thing that you
I
think
believe.
is holding back
I
DHS?
mean, the only real one that I can point to is CBP. I believe it's driven a lot of former secretaries' attention away from other departments.
Okay.
In DHS, I believe it's why I don't plan to focus majorly on it. Other than that, I think we could slightly improve on communicating with other agencies. I think we don't do it as much as we used to. So I think that could be improved on a little bit. But other than that, I don't think there's much holding us back other than that and maybe a little bit of activity. But I think that can be solved in the winter months. So
Okay. Um, piggybacking piggybacking off of that, if we take CBP, for the record, that is I forgot, so never mind. But if we took CBP out of the picture, what would you say is the department under or agency under the Department of Homeland Security that's lacking the most, and why?
LEHT, LEHT is going to
Okay.
be the big one, and it's not really due to the fault of its leadership. I believe it is mainly just because, like similar to CBP, it is just a department that hasn't got a lot to do on DC. It relies on other departments to join, as well as just it's not that fun. I've flown before personally for LHT, and I can say without a doubt that it is not a fun job to do. Your main thing is just flying a very basic and easy helicopter system, and you're transporting, and it becomes quickly unfun. And so I believe that it's demotivating for our pilots. And I'm going to look at improving on that as best I can with activity incentives and such. But it is I think it's the most holding us back besides CBP.
Okay. And I just have about two more questions here. Hold on, I'm trying to find the other one that I had written down. Okay, I'll find it while I ask you this. Uh, I lost both of them. Okay, sorry. Okay. What specific weakness would you say that you have as a leader, and how do you plan to compensate for it?
I believe to piggyback kind of off of when I was talking about my strengths or my leadership style to the other senator's question, I believe that one of my issues is being, at least in the past, is being too involved and too hands-on with my agencies. I believe that while it can be a strength for the position I'm going into, it can also be a weakness because it can demotivate my department directors, thinking I think it can kind of make them think that I don't trust them to do their jobs, which I do though. And so I'm going to personally work on myself and try to be less hands-on. But I think that's one of my biggest problems. Yeah.
Okay. And to piggyback off of that response, I guess, um, you know, to improve on yourself, you have to obviously pick command command members and people to command of the departments that you oversee. So, what qualities do you look for when selecting command members for the departments that you oversee?
One of the biggest qualities that I look for is, at least for the future, is selecting people that are involved in the community. I believe that being involved in the community is a major step to gaining trust in the community, working well with other people, other agencies, just having that transparency, which is something I aim for. That's one of the big qualities because it lets me know that I can trust them. It lets others know that they can trust them to lead that agency. Um, I think that's one of the main qualities I look for.
Okay, well, that concludes my questioning. So I'm going to yield the floor and then reassume the chair. Thank you, ranking member. If there are no further questions, senators or members of this committee.
One or two more.
Okay. Ranking member, you have the floor.
Thank you. Regarding LEHT, is there currently a investigatory body that would investigate any incidents that your aircraft commit? I know that the Marines have established a aviation of safety standards, or whatever it's called, Would you look into the same, or is there something already in place?
I'm so sorry. I had to step out of my room for just a moment. Could you restate that question?
Sure. Is there any investigatory body within the LEHT that would look into any air accidents involving your aircraft, like the MASB in the Marine Corps?
Um, there's no internal agencies. I don't believe that a department or agency investigate itself is any useful. I think it could there's room for bias, but we do have the Office of the Inspector General, which investigates all matters regarding federal agencies. Um, I believe that's the primary agency they go to.
But I should clarify, the MASB works more in a sense of applying internal policies, and it serves as a panel. Would you look into the same, or would you just not implement it and rely on OIG to implement the US code?
I don't believe that LEHT is um, that stressful enough for the need for a sole extension of DHS just specifically for it. I believe that investigations do not require that much, especially with the with how DC is. It really doesn't take long to investigate things or find out what happened. Usually with LHT, it's pretty simple to figure out. You know, if they hit someone, they hit someone, they hit a building, as well as just LHT has we train our pilots with a lot more strictness on regulations, and so I believe, at least from my eyes, I believe that our pilots know how to avoid um, getting into incidents that require investigations. But no, it is not something I am looking at the moment.
And going back to your point about activity and recruitment into LEHT and CBP, how does the current recruitment process look like, and could it be simplified in any way to attract more people?
So there, right now, there is, I believe, two uh, systems of entry. There is our liaison pilot program, which essentially we just go to other agencies' directors and we ask for names of people that might be interested in being liaison pilots. I believe there's two or three, I believe, seat spots per agency. Um, and then for it's the same training system and all that for liaison pilots as it is for regular pilots. And then we have our regular pilots system. It's just an application based system. I believe we have our SFO and our Undersecretary for Flight Operations, or Aviation Operations, sorry, reads the application and then accepts or denies them. And then they both go through the same entry system. They go through a background check, and we train them the same way. So other than that, it's just a difference between application and already being in a department.
All right. And for my final question, it's more of a round off, using the polls that were made in the main server. Multiple other candidate names have been put forward by the public for this position. In short, why should this Congress approve your nomination rather than making the president reconsider their decision and bring somebody in forward?
Well, I think for one, Congress needs to consider the stress that puts on the president. I believe that's not something Congress wants to do. I believe it causes a lot of drama. It distracts them from other duties that they need to do. Finding another SECHLS, especially when there's already a qualified one, is very stressful. But I also believe that just because of how uh, the event, especially SO2 coming up, there's no time for the need to find another person to nominate. I believe that just adds more stress to the department. There's a major shift in there's a shift between like three leadership styles, and I believe that's way too much for the department to handle. I believe that at at very most, if if Congress feels the need to keep me back, they should at least just table the nomination moment until at least SO2 is over. Just because of how much that puts on the department and the executive branch in general. But again, I believe that should be a last resort. I don't think a nomination should be failed at the moment.
And why are you better than other candidates that the public put forward?
I believe for a couple of reasons. One, the main one being I'm next in line. I believe that the former Secretary Owen, organized Owen, personally wanted me as the next Secretary of Homeland Security, which is why he vouched for me and he recommended me personally to the president. I believe that's a big factor and why I'm more qualified. But also just because of past positions I've held. I was deputy secretary for I believe 2 months, somewhere around that. Um, I was Secret Service Assistant Director. I'll just restate what I said earlier. I was Assistant Director twice. I was SOT for a while. I was the Undersecretary of National Operations. I've been in LAHD. I have been in every agency under DHS and have seen how they've operated, how they work. How vast is here? Yeah, I believe that makes me. I believe that some of the other candidates that were options, if you want to take a look at Thornwald, we can do that too. But I believe there are some people on there that, sure, they may be qualified, but they do not have one. They don't have the experience that I have, at least the recent experience. I know Sub-Zero Bandit has worked in DHS a long time ago, but it's been so long. The department has changed majorly. Um, just some of the other people are, I believe, they're very new to DHS. Some of them, I believe, some of them are still learning how to be a leader, how to lead the department, as well as just what they want for DHS as well. Yeah, I believe one of the big things I'll rely on is or go to is my activity. I've clearly shown to, I believe, all of the community that I am extremely dedicated and extremely active, and and I have the time and the dedication to this position. So yeah, yeah.
And one final follow-up. When you were approved for deputy secretary, the Senate got quite a bit of vocal backlash from the public due to your past criminal history. How can you assure the same people that you have the capacity to move past your previous criminal history and continue in a executive position?
There, right. Just off the top of my head, there are two big things I want to bring up. For one, let's look at the amount of people that are already in that have criminal background that are in positions. Let's take a look at Deputy Secretary Tempore. He was a criminal. He was a criminal for a lot longer than I was, and he was allowed in the positions, and he can be trusted. He's proven that. Another thing that I want to look at is how long I've been in a position that can be trusted. If I truly wanted to do something and do it and go back to crime, why wouldn't I have done it when I was the Undersecretary of National Operations or the Deputy Secretary or the SS Assistant Director? I could have done anything throughout all of those positions. Um, I say if you couldn't trust me then to do it, why wouldn't you be able to trust me now? That's kind of the big thing.
I see. I hope that answered the questions from the members of the public. Having exhausted my line of questioning, I yield my time back to the chair.
Thank you, Ranking Member. I'm gonna state that the floor is open once again for any further questioning. Okay, after a long 20 seconds of awkward silence, it seems that there are no more questions for you today, Mr. Aquatic. I'd personally like to say thank you for coming and sitting before this committee and answering the questions that we have or that we had for you. I wish you the best luck in your future endeavors, and we will vote on your nomination here soon. Okay.
All right.
Seeing that
Thank
there are
you.
no further questions, the committee will stand adjourned. I don't have a gavel, so gavel, gavel. Nice. Thank you.